I'm Mike Naso with the latest on our dangerous major hurricane Joaquin. As we enter the month of October in this slow El Nino hurricane season, we are reminded it is still hurricane season and we could still have significant impacts. And we do have something out there that is of quite concern. It is Hurricane Joaquin. As of right now, Joaquin is a major hurricane. It is a Category 3 storm, and it's sitting just to the north of the Turks, Caicos, and Bahamas, and it is drifting slowly, moving slowly towards the southwest or the west-southwest, and it could have major impacts for the Bahamas, obviously, and then anywhere from North Carolina all the way up to Nova Scotia. We're going to discuss Joaquin in length, so bear with me with this video update. Here is the latest on Joaquin as of our advisory at 11 p.m. The storm was at 23.8 north, 73.1 west. Winds were 115 miles per hour. That makes it a major hurricane, a Category 3, 4, and 5. Those are the major hurricanes. And it has been 10 years since October of '05 when Wilma hit Florida. It has been 10 years since a major hurricane hit Florida or anywhere in the United States. Winds are gusting as high as 140 miles per hour close to the center. Southwest at 5 miles per hour is the movement, 951 millibars, and you can see the forecast does have it kind of meandering and looping here, becoming a very powerful Category 4 hurricane tomorrow and Friday morning, and then gradually weakening as it accelerates to the north and then heads towards the mid-Atlantic states. But again, the timing and the track are very uncertain. If it moves on the left edge of this cone, we could be looking at a landfall near the North-South Carolina border as early as sometime Saturday night, early Sunday. If it took the right edge of this track, we could be looking at Long Island and New England, and that could be early Tuesday even. Because of the way the coastline slopes, we might have to deal with that. You can see the angle of the coast is important as to where the center of the storm comes in. But there is still a lot of uncertainty, and I'll discuss that with you in length. Now, here is the wind field with Joaquin, and you can see the tropical storm force winds are beginning to impinge on the Bahamas there. They're just starting to come into view of some of the Bahamas, and when we actually look at the latest watches and warnings, I'm going to read them off to you here. We do have a hurricane warning for the central Bahamas, Cat Island, the Exumas, Long Island, Rum Key, and San Salvador. You guys are under a hurricane warning, and it are the Abacos, Berry Islands, Eleuthera, where Andrew crossed before heading to Florida, Grand Bahama Island, and New Providence. We also have the hurricane watches for Bimini and Andros Island. Now, Andros, you're a bit further off. Right now, it doesn't look like you're going to get much in the way of the winds, but again, it's so close to you, and it's such a dangerous hurricane at this hour that you don't want to take any chances with it for sure. Now, as we look at the wind field with Joaquin, you can clearly see that this system is beginning to impinge on the Bahamas, and you can see in red there the Hurricane Center has those hurricane warnings out. And so the immediate impact is not the East Coast, but rather the Bahamas and the areas there north of Cuba, which are getting pounded right now by what can only be described as a very dangerous hurricane. And by the way, I should note that when we look at the Bahamas here, Cat Island looks particularly vulnerable right now. If anybody's in Port Hope, Cat Island, and San Salvador, you guys really might be close to getting the worst impacts from this dangerous hurricane, but also Long Island and Rum Key down here. Definitely the middle of the Bahamas. Eleuthera, keep an eye on it. The Abacos, Hopetown. Obviously, when it does that turn to the north, you're going to be on the western side, but you can't rule out it moving a little bit to the west on that forecast track. Now, moving on past that, here are the computer model guidance. And what I'm going to do here is try and explain what's going on. All of the computer models pretty much bend this system back west into either the Carolinas or New England, somewhere in the mid-Atlantic, except for an earlier run of the NAM and the European model. The European model takes this system out to sea. And we've been watching to see, the European is such a good computer model, we've been waiting to see, is it onto something? And just not too long ago, as of this recording, it's about 12:30 midnight, October 1st, we were watching the runs of the GFS come out, and it looked a lot better. it looked a lot better. It looked like, man, this thing might actually spin right out to sea. And then this happened. The new GFS run doesn't take it out to sea. It just loops it around this low pressure center further to the north, and it ends up making a particularly devastating landfall right there on Long Island. That would be very, very bad news indeed. So what you're wondering is, well, Mike, what does all this mean? How is this coming into play? What are the factors going into this storm? Well, here's the latest shortwave imagery. I'm going to try and give you some example of what's going on here. We have this front that has moved through. It's obviously draped itself over the East Coast. We've had heavy rains in areas of New England and the Mid-Atlantic states, a cold push of air. And I'm not kidding when I say it's going to get cold. If you live in the eastern parts of the United States, it's going to feel like fall. I mean, that's what we're dealing with here. It's going to start to feel like fall weather, which you might like, you might welcome, but again, look at that temperature difference. That is a cold front coming through in 24 hours time. Okay, so we know we got a front there, right? Well, here's what's going on with our hurricane. There's our dangerous hurricane sitting in the Bahamas, just north of it, and there's this front looping right down. You can see it. You can see the spinning there, the low-level clouds over Tennessee. What we believe is going to happen is that this system will meander and loop back north and then shoot around the low pressure center. What the European model is showing is that there's enough weakness and it will end up getting swept out to sea, basically in layman's terms. So the big question for the United States is, does it get swept out or does it get pushed in? As of right now, the odds are up in the air, but they seem to be leaning that it will get pushed into the coast, in which case we have a serious situation if you live in the Mid-Atlantic and especially the Carolinas. So we're going to continue to watch that because this is a serious storm. I mean, you can see it looks particularly menacing down there. Anytime you get these tight to the land masses, home-brewed systems, they really they spook you out a little bit. At least they do me, because we've had some really bad hurricanes in the last few years that have been spawned by systems like this. And look at this infrared satellite imagery. That is a scary looking hurricane. Okay? It is still disorganized on its western side. Don't give it a free pass here. You could clearly see on the western side it is still dealing with some shear, and that's to be expected because of the pattern that's currently taking shape over it. It's still dealing with the trophiness. Remember, this is still October now, and you can see the shear map. Clearly there is still anywhere from 10 to 20 knots of shear in the vicinity. But as it moves a little bit further west and eventually north, you can see the blue on this map, the lower shear values, is going to be in a much better environment for strengthening, and then it will gradually weaken. The waters get cooler, it'll be interacting, it might even become extra tropical where the winds start to expand. But trust me, folks, you don't want a Category 4 hurricane uncoiling, slamming north into Long Island, okay? This is serious stuff. This has happened before. It has happened before, and it's still early, so we don't know what's going to happen. But we will keep an eye on it because, like I said, this is nothing to mess around with here at all. You can see the upper level divergence over the system is very, very favorable indeed, and we're going to have to keep watching that. So again, the track does have it making landfall Sunday night over Cape Hatteras, a little bit to the north of that. And as we look at this satellite imagery, you can see the cold cloud tops brewing, a very, very nasty looking hurricane, and certainly one that, as of right now, looks like it could be the storm of the season. And if the forecast holds, could be a significant landfall along the U.S. East Coast. I'll leave you with this. I've used this LSU scan water vapor image for years, and I call it the blood water vapor with the red coloring. It gives you a good example and idea of what's going on here as we have a dangerous major hurricane named Joaquin pounding just north of the Bahamas, expected to make a turn and interact with a trough, and that trough interaction will be critical as to whether or not we are dealing with a system that might be able to slide further east or might go right into the coastline and cause us a lot of problems. Bahamas, keep an eye. If you're on the East Coast, be prepared. I'll see you next time with more on Dangerous Joaquin.